We went from tobacco in the early days of the country's history to alcohol in the early 20th century, after Prohibition, to opium in the 60s and 70s due to the Vietnam War, to the crack cocaine era in the 80s, to opioids in the early 2000s, with now the creme de la creme, fentanyl. Could this have all been avoided?
Our job is never easy because drug criminals are ingenious. They work every day to plot a new and better way to steal our children's lives, just as they've done by developing this new drug, crack. For every door that we close, they open a new door to death. They prosper on our unwillingness to act. So we must be smarter and stronger and tougher than they are. It's up to us to change attitudes and just simply dry up their markets. So to my young friends out there, life can be great, but not when you can't see it. So open your eyes to life, to see it in the vivid colors that God gave us as a precious gift to his children, to enjoy life to the fullest and to make it count. Say yes to your life, and when it comes to drugs and alcohol, just say no.
Just say no. Wow. If only it was that easy. Now, that was the First Lady, Nancy Reagan, back in 1986, when she had initiated or at least publicized the war on drugs with the just say no phrase. Notice there that she mentioned a new drug called crack, but we all know crack is derived from cocaine. So why didn't she mention that? I mean, it's obvious that's because cocaine was used predominantly for rich white people, while at the time, the other drugs like, heroin and weed were used by the lower end of the economic class, who predominantly happened to be black folks. But when cocaine was able to be converted into crack, it made the drug cheaper, therefore more marketable, and most importantly, more potent, to where people were running amok from doing all types of things and criminal activities to chase that high, and that's when it really became a problem for America. You see, back then in the 80s, there was more of a distinction of racism and classism in American society. Unlike nowadays, where some people have to, manufacture false claims of racism. Now, while Mrs. First Lady was giving that after-school program speech, next to her was her husband, President Reagan, whose administration has been found to be dirty or have dirty hands with the whole war on drugs. As around the time in the 80s, we were still in, the Cold War, with Russia, and it was known that Russia had an ally in the Central American country of Nicaragua. So America had Contras to fight on our behalf down there, and we obviously had to support them, and America was at one point. But when Congress denied additional support through military funds to the Contras down in Nicaragua, the Reagan administration went rogue and covertly started and continued supporting them through the drug trade and also the arms trade of selling guns and weapons to Iran. Bottom line is that America has profited off of drugs. I mean, it is what it is. So fast forward almost 40 years later, and we have another potent drug, fentanyl.
America's under attack. Our nation is being attacked by foreign powers called drug cartels in Mexico. When the Japanese attacked America in Pearl Harbor, they killed about 3,000 Americans. 9/11, when we were attacked, about 3,000. This is the largest attack on America's homeland by a foreign power in the history of the nation. 70,000 Americans were poisoned by fentanyl last year.
Now, this drug is an opioid similar to oxycodone and morphine and other pain reliever type drugs. However, fentanyl is 100 times more potent as it is synthetic, where it's, combined with other drugs. It is said it comes from, the Chinese city of Wuhan. I ain't saying nothing. And then it's mass produced in Mexico before being smuggled into America, across our borders. Fentanyl is so potent that it's almost replacing every other drug.
30 milligrams of morphine, 40 milligrams of Oxycontin, and 75 micrograms of fentanyl for 16 weeks. Then tell me to go home and take Tylenol.
What's your name?
Susie?
Susie. Okay. So you use what, every day, every other day?
Every day. I have to, otherwise I'll get sick.
So are you pretty high right now?
No, it doesn't even get me high. It just
doesn't get you high anymore.
It takes pain from my left side, and then it just keeps me from being sick.
Oh, gotcha. So what's the fentanyl scene these days? Let's just say in the last couple years, what's been going on here in Skid Row?
Everybody's doing it, and there's no more heroin. There's just fentanyl. It's even in it. They cut it with everything now. It's in methamphetamines. It's in cocaine. It's way strong.
I mean, this drug is no joke, as you can see there from Susie the crackhead. Well, no, I guess she wouldn't be a crackhead. She'd be a fentanyl head. Well, I don't know what the derogatory term for a fentanyl user is, but whatever it is, that's Susie. The thing with this video and many others I saw online is that there's like pretty much no shame for using a drug, as is pretty much done wide in the open in the public. And why not? I guess, because the laws are so lax, especially in cities like, San Francisco, where they have set up designated public areas for people to even use their drugs. And that's crazy. And look, I agree that we should help these people, but we also have to apply some, type of punishment to discourage the usage, especially to discourage the legal things that's done to get the drugs.
So the way you get this is you hit stores, you make your money that way, you buy the drug, repeat every day.
Yes.
How long? How long has this been going on for?
For a year and a half.
I need a new booster.
What's that?
I said I need a new booster.
A booster? What do you mean?
That's people that go to the stores and steal. He wants a new sweater. He wants.
He doesn't boost
Tell her
that.
to go get it.
You don't boost?
And I trade them drugs or give them half money and half price for it.
So boosting is when you go steal?
Yeah.
Susie right there gave the obvious cheat code to feed into this drug frenzy, which is it's nothing new, but what is new is that are these lenient laws and pressure to discourage, law-abiding citizens to own firearms, while we see, countless boosting happening at various stores, especially in California. So a simple solution would be, why don't we just tighten up the security in our cities and at our borders? Why don't we just close off things at the pipeline? I mean, I don't expect nothing at all to be smuggled over the borders, because no one and nothing is perfect, but this influx into our country can't just be a crisis without some inside assistance. I mean, I don't blame Mexico because they're profiting. I don't blame China because not only are they profiting, but they're also getting vengeance or revenge for the opium wars that were fought about over 150 years ago. Where back in the 1800s, where there was they were at the short end of the stick about 150 years ago, where they were at the short end of the stick of opium being sold into their country by Britain. And then America got in on it after the two opium wars were completed in order to supplement our exports with China back then. So I'm just asking a simple question. If we know this fatal drug is being smuggled through the Mexican border, why are we playing political football when it comes to border patrol? I don't have the exact answer. I can only really speculate at this time, as back in 1986, the average guy in the street didn't have the exact answer of why crack and cocaine was so prevalent in America at that time. But I'm sure a lot of people back then put on their tinfoil hats and basically believe that the government has something to do with, the prevalence of cocaine in the society. I mean, just recently, a congressional hearing was held in regards to the banning of TikTok, the app, as it was stated that the app has been known to assist the Chinese and the Mexican cartel as a portal to assist in the selling of fentanyl.
The facts show that ByteDance is beholden to the CCP, and ByteDance and TikTok are one and the same. TikTok also targets our children. It's also a portal for drug dealers to sell illicit fentanyl that China has banned, yet is helping Mexican cartels produce, send across our border, and poison our children.
And of course, through propaganda and mind manipulation and shaming people by calling them racist, bigot, and so on, it has caused many people to not want to push back so hard on the border patrol. So once again, soft languages just causes people to accept things that are against their own interests. And a word used to help propel the shaming tactic is xenophobia. What is xenophobia? And how can a word make people capitulate against their own better judgments? Discuss that here